Today's openings begin with the beer of the day, the Villainous Baltic Porter from Dastardly Villain Brewing in Winnipeg. Oh, interesting. They describe it as combining the richness of a stout and the crisp character of a lager. And I do always appreciate the artwork on these Dastardly Villain cans, always done by a local artist who they support directly. And let's get into the first item here. There's no customs declaration on the bag to give away the surprise. Bag within a bag. Oh, this one does say what it is. Okay. 10 pieces mini thrust ball bearings. I think I remember ordering these. I mean, it would have been months and months ago, like everything, because it does take a while for stuff to get through the mail queue. But yep, that's what they are. So regular bearings rotate in this direction with the shaft that way, and they expect the mechanical load to be perpendicular to the shaft like that. Thrust bearings expect the load to be being pushed in line with the shaft. So that's why they're set up that way. They don't really want any load going this direction, so you would often pair one with a standard ball bearing like that. And the reason that I got thinking about those was when I was putting together this camera rig up here. Up in the top there, you can't really see it, there are a couple of standard bearings, and I was thinking that I might need a thrust bearing to carry the load this way, but it seems to be working okay for now anyway. But that's no reason not to have different sorts of mechanical fasteners and mechanical bits and pieces. It's not really a fastener, but you know what I mean, in stock for the next time I'm designing some sort of a mechanism. 10 pieces mini thrust ball bearings for 3D printers in all these different sizes. I got the 7 by 15 by 5 millimeter ones, but it looks like they don't have any other information down here other than pictures of them in all sorts of different configurations. Oh, wait, no, there we go. So the bore is 7 millimeters. The outer diameter is 14.8, call it 15. And there is, yeah, okay, there's the race outer and the width of them and negligible weight. So yeah, I'm hoping that that is a reasonable size to use for the stuff that I've got around here. I think quarter 20 shaft or threaded rod or bolt or whatever will fit through there. I'm pretty sure I did that calculation before I bought these, so I'm hoping these will do that, because that is a really common size of hardware that I tend to keep around here. So at some point they'll show up in a project on the channel, I'm sure. All right, next thing in is something that came to my P.O. box. Nice. Thanks to whoever donated whatever this is. This is, a bunch more prying tools. So the manufacturers of these ones intend them to be used for automotive panel clips and things, which is what specifically these little forked bits are for, to get sort of in behind the door panels and around the clips that hold them in place and pry them up. But they also make really good non-marring spudger kind of opening tools for, taking apart stuff, which is something that I tend to do almost every week around here. So it appears the search term that finds these is trim removal pry tool. And if you sort price plus shipping lowest first, comes up with this one for $1.92 for a much bigger set. Although the exact set that I've got here seems to be selling not at auction for about $5.30. I'm assuming that if you were to be patient, you could probably get them at auction for much cheaper, and I'm guessing that's probably what my anonymous benefactor did. Thank you, whoever it was that sent these in. I do appreciate it, and these are something that I actually do use quite often. Right, off to a good start. Next thing in, again, doesn't have any clues on the outside of the package. And inside it says, a Raspberry Pi Pico 2 board. Oh, that's neat. Oh, compatible with BBC Microbit. I think I remember these. So the BBC Microbit is in this specific form factor And it is a microcontroller project that is intended for younger kids to use for education. And to that end, rather than having to solder, it just has these nice wide pads that you can clip leads onto, crocodile clips I suppose they'd call them in the UK, and get access to stuff that way. Or you can just stuff a wire through the hole and wrap it around, things like that. But as you can see, there are other labeled contacts in between those. So there are edge connector sleeves or shields, I don't know exactly what they call them in that ecosystem, that you can get that will connect up to those and break them all out as well. As you can see on here, there is a fair bit going on. There is a little grid of LEDs. There is the Raspberry Pi microcontroller chip, the RP2350. It also has a couple of push buttons there and there that are connected to GPIO pins. There's a reset and boot, just like the Pi Pico has on it. On the other side, we have, again, that edge connector. We have some pins for header, some holes for header pins over there, and then all the other GPIOs on just flat pads that you can tack wires onto with a soldering iron if you want to. Oh, and up on top, this one's got a USB-C on it as well. It's an interesting form factor. Of course, the Microbit was originally sponsored by BBC in Britain, in England, as an educational product, but it has gained a huge following over in the UK and presumably Europe. Not really that much in North America that I have noticed, but when I found this, I decided to grab one. Now, this isn't an original Microbit. This isn't an official one. This is just following their form factor, putting the Pi Pico chip on here, the Raspberry Pi 2350 on here, so it should be able to run MicroPython quite happily. But yeah, as I said, these were never all that well known on this side of the pond, to my knowledge anyway. So I figured I would grab one when I saw it and play with it some. Raspberry Pi Pico 2 RP2350 bit board size and port high compatible with BBC Microbit RP2350. Yeah, okay. Currently it's selling for $20.38. When I bought it, it was a little over $10 Canadian. So, you know the drill. Search around, use those keywords, blah, 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 blah. Also, it looks like they do have a kit that comes with it that has that edge connector that I was talking about and some clip leads and whatnot, but I just got the bare board. I think I may have ordered that breakout as a separate item from a separate seller back at the time. We'll have to look in future mailbags, I guess, for that one. But in the meantime, we can still play with this thing just as it is. It's got all the onboard LEDs and buttons and stuff, so that's cool. Whoever designed this doesn't understand the concept of high contrast. It's ARM development board for youth educational programming. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Cool creations. It's a microcontroller. You can do all that stuff. Compared with the official Pi Pico, the croc clips are more suitable for little kids. Sure, onboard LED dot matrix and buttons. Yeah, based on the official Raspberry Pi 2350 processor. And I have no reason to doubt that that is a legitimate one. A little while ago, I saw a video from Electron Update, who bought an official Pi Pico and a knockoff, and he decapped both of the main chips and found that they were, in fact, both original chips from Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to assume that that's probably what happened here, too. Raspberry Pi doesn't make their hardware all that hard to get a hold of, so there's no real reason for them to knock it off. Plus, it's inexpensive enough as it is, so that's likely what's happening here. What do we have? Okay, they're claiming micro USB. The one that I've got's got a USB-C on it, which is a win. W25Q16. I'm not sure what that sensor is. There's that. There's those two. There's LEDs and the microbit port down there. Reset and boot. And then, yeah, there is all of the GPIO on the back. I am going to have to play with this in the near future. If you have experience with the microbit form factor? Let me know down below. Was it popular outside of the UK? Is it still a current board? But you know what I mean. Yeah, I'd like to know more about this than I was already able to find out. But in the meantime, we can definitely play with it just using standard PiPico stuff. All right, well, let's see what the next thing is to unbox then. All right, that next thing is, again, who knows what it is. It is carefully wrapped in bubble pack. It is, I think that is a modification module for my 3D printer. Yeah, that is for modifying my Ender 3 3D printer. It is for making it or converting it into a direct drive extruder as compared to the Bowden tube remote extruder. Basically, you mount this on the X-axis carriage, and it's easier to show you over here. So basically, this mounts onto that X-axis there and rolls back and forth. I'm not sure whether it goes that way or this way. The extruder motor from back there gets mounted on there. The extruder itself, this part comes off, and the extruder itself mounts onto, I think, those two standoffs there. So I guess it goes there. So basically it eliminates this flexible tube here and allows me to use flexible filaments, allows me to print a little bit faster, I believe, although it does add more weight on this gantry, so this motion here is a little bit slowed down, I think. I'll have to experiment with this. Of course, pretty much everything I do here is an experiment, but I think that's what it will do, and I think it will allow me to hopefully print a little bit more accurately, but definitely it will allow me to print things like flexible filaments, which could be kind of cool. 3D printer accessories, Ender 3 or CR10 direct drive plate metal upgrade kit. There were various different options. I could have got one that came with the motor, or just with the kit for the Metal Gear extruder, but I've already got one of those, so I just got that one. And $11.78 with free shipping is pretty much exactly what I paid for it back in October. Wow. There's not that much information about it down here, but compatible with more filaments such as TPU flexible. That's the main reason that I grabbed it. And if I don't like it, I can back out again. It's not that hard. Yeah, there is the version that comes with the new stepper motor and direct drive gears and everything else. I didn't need that. But there you can see that they've got the extruder mounted on the back side of that where those standoffs are, so that makes sense. Let me see if I can find a picture that's got more detail in it. Okay, so there it is with the extruder mounted on it. That's the older Ender 3 version. That's not the version I've got, but it should be compatible all the same. Although, reading this guy's review, I'm a little stressed now. He bought it just a month after I bought mine. Well, I guess we'll see. Yeah, okay. And that brings us to the last and largest thing that came in. Which is color matte black, size 12 by 39 inches. What are you? Oh, I remember now. This is adhesive vinyl, the kind of stuff that you would normally use with like a Cricut vinyl cutter or something. But I think I can use it with my laser engraver, laser cutter, to cut stuff out and make my own labels. But yeah, it's just self-adhesive vinyl for making stickers and labels and things. I don't know, have you ever tried that with a laser cutter? I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't work, I don't think, unless this is, you know, completely incompatible. You can probably use other colors, but I figured black would be a lot better to start with, because the laser will, you know, be be willing to interact with a dark color a lot more than it will with clear or something like that. I don't know. It's an experiment. Not just is it an experiment, but it's a cheap one too. I got the 30 centimeter by 100 centimeter, so meter long roll for less than $5. Yeah, that's a cheap experiment, even if it doesn't work. What do we call it here? Permanent adhesive vinyl matte metal colors, vinyl sheets, blah, 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 blah. Decoration, stickers, cars, craft, deco. Yeah, okay. It might be nice to make sort of custom labels and stuff like that for various different stuff around here. I don't know. Maybe you could even cut out a circuit board pattern on that and stick it on as etch resist. I'm not sure. Like I said, this is just a cheap experiment. It says these sheets are made from high quality vinyl that is free of BPA and PVC. But then down here it says the material is PVC. PVC is polyvinyl chloride. Vinyl is, well, vinyl. I don't know. When I'm messing around in the laser, I'm obviously going to have this thing vented to the outside world. You saw way back when I got that laser how I built the hose and the vent that takes the fumes outside. So I'm not super concerned about it, but I don't know. As I said, it's an experiment. And there's the contents of today's Mailbag Hunt Monday haul. Quite the wide variety. Very cool stuff. Thanks to whoever the anonymous donor was that sent in these pry tools, these spudgers. Those will definitely get used. I have some other ones back here that I've used quite a bit. Some of them are starting to get chewed up, so nice to have some replacements. This little microbit form factor Raspberry Pi Pico should be fun to play with. I've got a few other Raspberry Pi Picos, some official ones and some unofficial ones, and yeah, they've allowed me to spend a bit of time getting into MicroPython, which I find is a little bit easier to program than C that you use in Arduino. I mean, you can use Arduino with this as well if you want to, but it's a little bit easier programming language doing it in MicroPython. So I think that's probably what I'll do with that one. I hope I can find some reference to addressing the LEDs and whatnot. Next we have the upgrade for my 3D printer. And again, that's not going to be a major game changer, except for it will allow me to print with flexible filament, which could be pretty cool. Stay tuned for that. And then there is these little thrust washers. These are going to go into inventory and just be another one of those I'd rather have it and not need it than not have it sort of bits just to add to my arsenal of parts around here. You never know when you're going to need something, and I don't want it to be a showstopper that I don't have the exact little part that I need. Well, that's everything, I think. Thanks, as always, to my YouTube channel members and my Patreon supporters for helping keep the mailbags coming in, and of course helping keep the beer fridge full. Thanks to the anonymous donors, always appreciated. And thanks to viewers like you for watching. Questions, comments down below, links to all this stuff as well down there. I'll talk to you next time.